You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG. Bordy, how you doing tonight, brother?
Dude, I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. How about yourself, bro?
I'm doing good. It's a good day, dude. My Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl again.
That they are. Yeah,
so
you
know that's where we're at right now. You know, doing pretty well. We got a lot of stuff to talk about in New World tonight, and specifically the January patch notes that we were hoping that would come out. Guess what, guys? They came out. A lot of great changes here. Not some stuff we were expecting, some stuff we weren't expecting, but overall, really, really good advancements to New World and the Alpha client, obviously. So I'm excited to talk to you about those tonight, Bordy. Real quick, though, guys, we appreciate your guys' audience. We are very grateful for the support we get over here on the podcast, as well over at New World Fans. You guys are killing it. You guys are crazy. If you haven't watched our YouTube channel yet, please go hit the sub button. We do a lot of work over there that's related to, of course, New World. So if you're interested in New World YouTube videos, you should go and sub to our channel over there. Also, guys, as we get closer to launch, New World Fans is going to see a lot. You're going to see a lot of different changes, a lot of updates to content, a lot of new content. We're excited about the launch of New World, dude, and we'll be advancing in every form or fashion over there at New World Fans. So go, if you haven't already, go check that out, that website. All right, Bordy. Well, those are the ads for today.
All right.
Just a bunch of shameless self-promotion. But Bordy, let's hop right in here because this could be a pretty lengthy episode. We got a lot to talk about. So, Bordy, as we expected, they dropped the January patch notes here over at newworld.com. And, dude, we got a lot of new stuff to talk about. The first and foremost is a new weapon, Bordy, and that is the Rapier. Bordy, what do you think, dude? We now have a one-handed dueling class in New World.
Yes, I'm excited about it, man. I like the Rapier. I like really fast weapons in this game. I like the mobility. I like the style. I really like the Rapier, dude. I really like it. I want to get in there and play and see how it feels, but just by looking at the little thing they have here on their website, they have like a little, is it GIF? Do you say GIF or GIF, Red? What do you say?
You know what? I say GIF.
Yeah, me too.
Sometimes, and then I say GIF other times. GIF is a peanut butter, dude. So I try to stay away from GIF. I say GIF.
Yeah, I say GIF as well, but they have a GIF over here on the patch notes section on their website, and it shows him doing this little jab to an ancient, and it looks really cool. So yeah, I'm excited about it, man. I think the Rapier is gonna be dope.
Yes. So here is the fine print. We introduced a new melee weapon that excels at quick piercing attacks. The Rapier attacks scale off of a character's dexterity score. So adventurers will be able to progress 2 mastery trees. 1. The blood weapon mastery tree, focusing on applying stacks of bleeding status effect to enemies and then popping those stacks for big damage and flourishing finishes. And, Bordy, they have the other tree is the grace weapon mastery tree, focused on evasion, counterattacking, and talented blade work with the Rapier. Bordy, dude, I love seeing them just continue to add weapons to the arsenal in New World.
Yeah, me too, man. The more the merrier, I think. They're just going to have to make sure they balance them as they go, or maybe add them and then balance them later or whatever. But having more weapons and more options is always a good thing. Yes, I agree.
Or they could just do what Black Desert Online does, and just the new weapon is the best weapon all the time. Yeah, and so then just everybody goes to the new weapon, and then you just have 30 million people running around with a Rapier. No, they're not going to do that. Obviously, balance is important. The Rapier will have 2 crafted weapon perks, specifically to the addition to the perks that are broadly acceptable on all or applicable on all other weapons. Dude, I hope they flesh this out well and they continue to add these unique perks on each individual weapon type.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I like having specific perks for specific weapons and then having broad perks for all the weapons. So if you don't want to run those specific perks, you can mix it up or mix and match or whatever. Again, the more choices, the better, man. We harp on that here on this show a lot, I think. And I like it. I think diversity in MMO is a good thing. I think this adds to that for sure.
Yes, and to a little bit of a backtrack, dude. And is this actually we just recorded a video about this. As long as those broad choices are viable, that's another. You can have a million choices, and if only 2 of them are viable, then you really only have 2 choices. Most.
Exactly. Yeah.
So hopefully they, like you mentioned, balance and everything like that, which I do think that they are capable of. And with no classes, or no class skills, I think the balancing should be a little bit easier in this game because you'll have less ways to break the mechanics. So. Yeah, dude, I'm excited about having seen the rapier in action, and dude, that's our 4th dex weapon. So, we're getting up there.
Yeah, I like it, man. I like the addition of a dex weapon. You can have a full dex build now, man, with 2 weapon slots, dude. You can go 2 dex weapons now. It's gonna be cool, man.
Spoiler alerts, dude. We're not there yet. Our podcast listeners may not know there's only 2 weapon slots.
Oh, rip, dude! Spoiler. Oh, I'm sorry.
Spoiler alert.
Then they should sub the YouTube channel.
Hey, maybe they should. Maybe they're like, maybe you guys should shut up and stop talking about your YouTube channel. Probably so. Probably true. Yeah, we spend a lot of time on that though. There's no doubt about that. So we've made major changes. Oh, okay, I've skipped the actual title. Crafting system changes, guys. This is huge. This is basically the meat and potatoes of this January update. So they have went on record, and they haven't put out another article that we're covering in a video tomorrow. Or no, this would have been, we covered it yesterday. It's getting confusing. Which they put out another article specifically about the crafting system changes that they did, detailing why they made them and their view of the, their goals for the crafting system, just like they did with combat last month. So it's a good read. You should definitely go read this. And it's very encouraging because they have kind of, they allude to the fact that these are it, dude. They're fleshed out these changes within the crafting system. And this is what they envisioned as they started to develop New World. And that, to me, is very encouraging to see that they are finally getting to their goals on some of these systems, Bordy.
Yeah, for sure, man. I like that too. It is very encouraging, and these are some pretty big changes, and I think for the most part, all good. I don't see anything too negative in here.
Yes. So, all right. So here we go. We've made major changes to increase the number of item players can craft and added additional functionality to the crafting system. The main goal of these changes is to keep crafting and gathering relevant through the end game, while adding more depth, a new interface, and more interesting choices in the crafting system. So real quick note, the in-game UI is processed. So this is basically a photo of the in-game crafting system inside of this article. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. And dude, it is significantly changed from the preview event.
What do you think about it, man? Do you think this is better or worse?
Obviously, these are one of those things you'd like to get your hands on before you make a judgment call, because I know that here's the thing about the crafting system before. I know that the UI was beautiful, very pretty, but at the same time, like, crafting just felt soulless. You know what I mean? It was like you're basically there wasn't a lot of changes or meaningful choices that you were making during the crafting process. And so I hope that these changes, and it seems to be that they definitely have improved it, but I hope that they do give a little bit of, or a lot of, meaning as far as like being a crafter or being a gatherer. So for the audio listeners, there's a screenshot on the website that's more of like it's more in like list form now, where you can filter through your items, and then you have a nice neat list over to the left side whenever you craft, versus clicking on, it was like boxes before in the preview event, right? In the middle of the screen there. Yeah. So for me personally, dude, I think this, just by looking at the screenshot here, it appears to be a lot more organized and a lot easier to navigate and see what you're doing while you're crafting. And I personally am a big fan of this. I like this. My mind is very organized. I'm a very organized Type
person.
A personality.
Yes, I'm a CPA, dude. I have to be. And this organization here is like, dude, it's awesome to me. I don't like chaos. I don't like crazy looking UI. I like very organized, structured things. And this fits that bill. So personally, I like it, dude.
Yes.
You know, like, we'll have to use it and see how the functionality works. Obviously, in game, we don't know yet, but it is very it is very appealing to the eye. To me personally, I like it.
Yeah, and there's just more. It just seems like there's more things to craft, which is always good. So Bordy, they added, here's the details. They added name items which can be crafted for most trade skills. These items start at tier 2 and go up to tier 5 with the goal of making crafting even more relevant and in-game. So they introduced a variety of rare resources and ingredients that will be required to craft named items. Some of these rare ingredients can also be used procedurally in crafting to gain gear score bonuses. So, you know, they have added more items to the game, Bordy, that make choices, like we'd kind of alluded to at the top, more important as you're crafting these, you know, if you're a weapon or an armor crafter or you're a chef. A lot of these items that you find within the world not only are going to tell you that they're more rare and probably potentially have the power to affect your crafting in more influential ways, but they're just overall more items and choices that you'll be making as a crafter.
Yeah, which I think is good as long as they're meaningful items. Like you had mentioned before, same deal with the perks, same thing with these items. The more you add, the more you want to make sure these items continue to be viable. You don't want to have just a long list of items that you can craft just for the sake of being able to craft them. You want to have these crafted and actually crafted and used in game, right? Or else there's no reason in having them in there at all. You might as well have 5 items that everyone uses instead of 50, and 45 of those no one's going to use, right? So that's the only concern there. I always enjoy variety. I always enjoy more things to craft. I think that's great for the crafting side and the economy side of the game. They're just going to have to make sure that they maintain relevancy among all the new things they add.
Yes. So, you know, as you start to dive into all these changes, and a lot of these are very again detail oriented to help affect crafting in a positive way. You start to see that there's a lot of passion on the New World team for crafters and gatherers, and overall, I think that's a very good thing because we talk a lot about on the podcast how important it is to tailor to that particular piece of the community, the MMO audience, because I think they're some of the most passionate players, people that are wanting to help other people enjoy the game, and it does seem that they're putting in a lot of work to do that, Bordy.
Yeah, man, love to see it.
So they overhauled the procedural crafting system to give players more control and flexibility over custom crafting. So there are details here. I'm not going to go over all of them for you guys, but it's just important to know that now, as far as like, you know, cut and dry recipes that were in the preview event, crafting has changed now. You're going to have the option to add in little additives that may affect your item in certain ways. So it's kind of cool, Bordy. There's going to be definitely some experimentation on the crafter's part to figure out which ingredients make, their food or their weapons more viable. Yeah,
for sure, man. I like that a lot. That's a good change.
This is another good change, or one of my favorite ones. Adding new ways to unlock recipes. So artifact recipes will allow players to craft a single item of that recipe. Recipe schematics will also allow players to permanently unlock a recipe. So here's where it gets really cool, dude. And this is something we've talked about. You might have to rewind to like episode 2 or 3. But
yeah, it was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. But dude, maybe, I mean, dude, are they listening to us? Maybe, possibly, is it potentially?
Maybe so, man. Smart? Hey, maybe so.
Maybe we're just 200 IQ people, dude, and we just think of the same things that they think of because they're also smart. You know what I mean? Who knows? The world may never know. Just like how many licks it takes to get to the center of a lollipop. Or wait,
nobody's gonna remember that, man. I remember that. I remember that commercial.
Some people will. Some people will respect it.
It was an owl.
It was an owl, and it was 3 because he bit it. So that he's a cheater. Nobody cares about his science. It's terrible science. All right, so dude, this is awesome. You could get bosses in the world can drop artifact recipes that will allow you to craft possibly a legendary, potentially a legendary, a unique legendary that you once you consume that recipe, it's gone, dude. And that is awesome, man. That is exciting to see things like this in New World.
Yes, I think so, man. I like that a lot. That is something we talked about a long time ago, and it is in the game now, which is really cool to see.
Yeah.
Those types of changes, those consumable types of recipes, give people to redo content. Those things can go up on the trade. It enhances
For
the
big
economy. It
money.
does a whole lot of things. Yeah, exactly. Those types of things do a lot for the game, I think, in replayability value.
Yes, for sure. Who knows if it's tradable or not? It'll be interesting to see if it's like,
True.
soulbound or not. But yeah, obviously things like this will help create an economy, not only an economy, but a game loop that keeps people grinding or trying to kill a boss to get that rare drop, to get that item crafted by another player. And so that other player obviously has to get to the level, assumingly max level, that will allow them to craft that artifact. So there's a lot of things that go into that new change to this system that I think are really, really awesome, dude. Here is the thing. We just mentioned that there is a max level on crafting, which wasn't there before, and gathering as well. So now all trade skills now cap at 200 to unify gathering, refining, and crafting progression. Now, I know a lot of people really, really, really like the infinite progression systems, like in Black Desert or something like that. But I think this is, for this game in particular, New World, in the direction that they're going, I think the cap is a very good thing on the crafting and gathering systems.
I like it, man. I'm not an infinite progression type of guy because I just can't sit there and grind it out forever, and it's a little off-putting to me, especially if I came to the game late, right? Like, I'm not going to get into New World late. I'll be playing on day one, but I just think from the perspective of gaining new players in the game, you get in the game, there's already people that have like 2,000 crafting, and there's no cap. You can never catch up with that person ever, no matter how long you play. That's incredibly off-putting to me as an MMO player. If I jump into an MMO and I realize, hey, dude, I have no shot at ever catching that guy because he's been playing since day one and has progressed so far. And there are catch-up mechanics in some games and whatever, but let's be real here. Once somebody gets so far ahead, it's incredibly hard to be one of those players if that's your goal in the game. So it's a little off-putting. I like the cap a lot. This also provides opportunities for expansions to increase the cap and add new things you can craft with that increased cap and all kinds of good stuff. So I'm a fan of the cap. Some people probably aren't. I like it, dude.
Well, and like you mentioned, what if that person you're trying to catch up to is your friend that you want to play with? So some of those infinite progression systems can really, detour just people from wanting to play the game in general. I do think there are tasteful ways to implement it. I think Black Desert Online does do a good job with the infinite progression system because somehow they find a way to add more content and obviously they're succeeding very well at that. But I think for something like New World, they're looking to put out updates and new hopefully progression, like with the level cap and everything like that. I think it's good to also be able to increase the level cap on like gathering and crafting. So overall, I think it's a good change, but I think that'll be a mixed opinion on that from the community for sure. So new gear mechanics. So we've this is another change for the crafting system. We've introduced over 100 new named weapons and 50 new named armor pieces.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, dude. These, dude, please. This is speaking to my heart for sure. These items all have unique names, stats, and backstories. We will continue to build out these gear rewards and assign them to game activities and named characters. Dude, this is another massive step in the right direction. I know, some people don't like gear sets or named unique items that hopefully have unique traits to them, which they did kind of allude to name, stats, and backstories. So hopefully we'll see some that, maybe change the way your character is built out or the way your character performs in combat. But dude, this is awesome, dude. This is the again, a massive change in the feel or depth of New World.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is a great change for sure. I don't have much else to add to that. It's really good.
So these are quick notes. We'll get through these quickly. They updated the repair mechanics, which basically allows you to keep an item with 0 durability equipped, but it will not perform like it typically would if you had a fully equipped, or you had had a piece of gear that's not broken. It's going to be about half as effective, is what they said. So that's it won't automatically unequip, which is good. I don't. It's a good change overall. Introduced a new rapier kit item with 4 tiers. Rapier repair. I'm saying rapier. but it's repair. Introduces a new repair kit item with 4 tiers. Repair kits will repair any item of corresponding tier. So now that's interesting, dude. You won't have to destruct gear to get repair pieces, which I'm glad about in general. Because I don't think before in the preview event you couldn't sell repair parts, right? You had to buy weapons and armor and just deconstruct them to get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's good that now they actually have a repair kit that looks like can be crafted.
Yeah. I want to go back real fast, though, to the updated repair mechanics. Just on a real quick note here, I think... So the whole repairing things and items just not breaking and not being unequipped now, it's a little odd in this game. I find it seems like this game would work better, and I've said this for a long time, that if your gear did just completely break, like if you were able to repair it, but then every time you repaired it, it took a durability hit. Not whenever the item hits 0, but it hits 0, you can then repair it, but then over time your max durability diminishes and eventually that item breaks. Because with the economy, man, it just seems to make a lot of sense that would then incorporate more reason to craft and more reason to have a player run economy and etc. It's because you don't drop gear on death, right? So your gear is there forever now. So it just seems like at some point the economy might end up getting a little bit stale, and I'm kind of leaning towards the way of maybe having just gear break altogether, because in New World your gear it's not like you're going and grinding a dungeon for hours and hours and hours like you do in some other MMOs. It's a little bit easier to obtain gear in New World than it is in other MMOs. So I don't know, man. It's just odd to me that this is the update to repair mechanics that they have made versus just making gear break altogether. It's kind of weird to me.
Yeah, and it's difficult to say. I don't know what changes they're making to, the difficulty of acquiring gear. Also, one of the things that's kind of still in the game that they want to avoid is like griefing, right? It might deter people, like if because we both are PvP people, and I think we both have had some fun killing people multiple times, and I think we've been killed by somebody multiple times or a group of people multiple times. Then when you start to have mechanics like, I can grief someone until their gear breaks, and then not only do they feel bad because I've killed them 10 times, but now they don't have gear either. I think they have.
Yeah, but I think there's ways. If you're just worried about griefing, there's ways to prevent that, right? Like they can implement some sort of mechanic.
Is what I mean.
Yeah, that like if you get killed by the same person within a minute time frame, or even within 5 minutes after you have rezzed, then your gear doesn't take durability damage or something like that. I mean, I think there's ways to combat the griefing in that area. My concern is the economy value and the trading value and the crafting value long term. Like in the beginning, it's not going to be a problem at all because everybody's going to need gear regardless. But then long term, it's like, how are they going to keep that economy moving? Because at some point, most people are going to be maxed out, and they're going to have their gear that they have forever. And then what's the point in having a player run economy at that point? It's going to be interesting to see how they tie all that together, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have something in the works. That just seems like a pretty good solution in my opinion. So every time I see something related to repair mechanics, it just kind of a conversation that's always brought up.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, I think they're continuing to flesh out these systems, and that might be one that we don't know until again we know more about what the type of content they're adding, and all of that stuff. So, but it is something to think about as we progress towards launch. So they made some food mechanic changes. So basically, there are now 2 types of food: buff food and recovery food. A recovery food will help you get quick HP that will intended for out-of-combat HP recovery, plus a long-term slow HP recovery buff, and then buff food will give you a gameplay buff and the long-term slow health recovery, but not the immediate recovery. So now there are 2 types of food instead of just the one, because it was all based around health recovery before, or the health recovery buff. So they added food items that will buff a variety of attribute combinations, which is interesting, Bordy. To me, I think traditionally MMOs have that food buff mechanic that you have to eat a certain type of food for your class that kind of gives you your main stat buff and stuff. So it seems like New World is in that direction as well. The buff from foods now persist through death, which is awesome. Removed warding foods. So this functionality will be replaced with potions in the future, and crafting and refining bonus food unlock starts at tier 3. So this is interesting, dude. Really interesting changes to the food mechanics, and again, kind of inching towards that direction of a true MMO.
Yeah, and I think before there were like 4 types of food, not just 2. There was a bunch of different types of food, and one of them was warding foods, and so they're removing those and making those into potions. So they all did provide health recovery. You're right, but I think they still do. These 2 types of foods still do provide health recovery based on these notes right here. But what's going to be interesting is that I don't think now you're going to be able to stack 4 or 3 food buffs. Before you could stack 3 food buffs and your health could just skyrocket almost whenever you were running around. You just passively increase, which was pretty OP, man. I mean, if you stacked a warding food and then a crafting food or a gathering food and then a health food, you would get 3 buffs. I bet they've toned that down. I bet you only get 1 would be my guess. They don't specifically state that in here, but I bet you only get 1 food buff now.
Sure. Okay. So what I meant by the change is not all, like you were mentioning, all of them gave the HP recovery buff, which is a 20-minute buff that allows you to get your hit points back. Otherwise, you don't passively regenerate hit points at all. Now they changed it to where only some of those, or half, or whatever you want to look at it, provide that recovery buff. And now others will record or give you buffs towards your attributes. I do think that the refining, the crafting foods are considered buff foods now, or to be in the buff category, but they did completely remove the buffs that give you rewards towards like enemy types. So that would be those will be tinctures or potions or whatever. But it's interesting because like you said, and I don't think it was intended, a lot of people ran around with 3 unique food buffs, all of which gave you the health recovery.
I did the whole event.
Yeah, crazy. And most people in PvP, if you're being competitive, did. So it's good that they got rid of that. That was kind of a senseless mechanic. And you know, again, I like to see the attention to detail that they have, because launching a game with things like that in it can often tend to a lot of baby rage, or rage in general, where people are, you know, like, just, it didn't make a lot of sense. I'm glad that they changed it. All right, so here we go. More combat changes, Bordy. And this is not, they didn't say like we're done doing these. So I think we can expect more in the future, but these are a lot of good ones here. More on the elite enemy system. They continue to build on the system to make elite and champion enemies more challenging and change up their gameplay. All named enemies above level 15 now utilize the elite enemy system. Each elite enemy now has 1 to 3 affixes apply, which changes their attack and characteristics depending on their difficulty level. Bordy, dude, this is like one of my favorite changes that they're making, and I think it's one of the biggest as far as like to the overall gameplay of New World. They're continuing to flesh out this elite enemy system.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out whenever it's completely finished. I think they're still working on it. I think they stated that at some point recently, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens here, man. I'm very excited about the elite enemy system as well. It's going to provide a lot of diversity and a lot of change whenever you're fighting mobs, and that's good. It's real good.
Yeah, and again, games like Diablo, Path of Exile use these mechanics to create a lot of variety within the gameplay. So I'm just excited at the fact that, you know, you can't just like wander into a zone and expect the same mob with the same abilities every time. It's gonna it's gonna be good to see the challenge in combat persist even in max level when you're trying to kill some different mobs. Okay, so AI combat updates. Oh, wait. We've scaled the visual... This is important. This is cool. We scaled up the visual models of various enemy families and enemies within those families to offer more visual diversity to enemies. Larger enemies will also have larger hitboxes. So, you know, again, this is not only are we going to get to see different changes of affixes and ways their attacks that these people are going to have, but you're also going to see size differences, which is going to be cool too. So AI combat updates. Here are some more changes to this system. Adjust the enemy's AI of drowned sailors, withered regurgitators, corrupted swordsmen, and Corrupted Spearmen to also use the combat system updates introduced in the December update. We will continue to roll out these updates to all enemies. So this and this is just the real quick details of that, differentiated enemy light attacks and heavy attacks, and adjust how enemies select their attacks, adding cooldowns to heavy attacks to mimic the cooldown timers of a player's abilities. These are really good changes, man, because, dude, I fought some mobs that, dude, they just kept using their abilities over and over again. It was a little frustrating. So now it's nice to see that they have cooldowns and stuff like that, just like we do.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna diversify combat a lot and make it a lot more interesting, a lot more fun.
All right. So the second change they made to the AI combat system is they increased the difficulty of AI when players fight enemies well above their level. And I think this is important. This is exactly what they say it is. This makes it to where, you can no longer like cheese mobs, because 10 or higher than the player, they do not get staggered by the player anymore. And I mean, you're gonna get one shot by them, which is exciting, dude. I like that feel of like danger when you run into an area you're not supposed to be in.
Yeah, for sure. I think it should totally be like that.
All right, Bordy. So here are some more combat system updates that they mentioned. So reduce the and this is a big one, dude. I'm about to read that like it was nothing. Reduce the number of weapons of players people. Well, I'm butchering the P out of this right now. Reduce the number of weapons a player can equip from 3 to 2.
Boom. I already spoiled that at the beginning of the episode, and I didn't mean to. But
and
yeah,
I
this
just
is a
ruined
huge
it.
change,
So I'm glad you did, because you spoiling it was a lot more hype than me reading at a second grade level through this through these patch notes. But dude, this is something we mentioned again a lot before. And they did it, dude. They did it, and I'm extremely happy that they did.
It's a huge change, man, and for the better, I think, for sure. I think there are still people in the camp that like the 3 weapons versus the 2. I think there's a lot of people that enjoyed that, but I think overall, I think the majority of the player base agreed that 2 is better than 3, simply because it provides more diversity in your builds, man. Everybody, I can't imagine a situation playing that I really truly need a 3rd weapon, or that I really even switch to that 3rd weapon ever. So what ends up happening is everybody runs the same weapon on their back bar for one ability, just like we've seen in the preview event with the life staff. If it's not the life staff, it's going to be some other weapon for one ability, and that's going to be it. Nobody's going to care to really increase the level of that weapon or what. They're just going to run that one weapon on the back bar, and it's going to happen. That's what would have continued to happen. So there's really no reason to have 3 bars, right? Like what? I could never think of a reason, like in combat or in PvP, that I'm going to be switching between all 3 weapons. This great change, dude. I am incredibly excited and happy about that change.
Well, and the thing about it too is, like you said, it's going to be really hard to balance weapons around that fact, where like that a majority of the people, especially the people that want to be competitive, that want to compete at high level PvE or PvP, they're going to be running most likely at least the same weapon on the back bar, if not the same 2 weapons on the other back bars. And how do you really prevent that from happening? And by reducing the weapon slots, you're not only diversifying the actual amount of builds that can be in the game, but you're forcing a lot of important choices to your players, which is now I can't just waste a weapon slot to get Blink, or I can't just waste a weapon slot to get Berserk. I'm going to have to really think about these things or these choices that I'm making because I only have these 2 limited slots. So here's another good change. Players can now move during range attack animations. That was a big deal. Again, I think range needed a lot of attention from the preview event, and it's good to see that they're getting that. Adjusted range attacks to cancel to ensure they offer as much flexibility as a melee attack. And from the updated, so they did do a lot of changes to how melee worked, to feign attacks and everything like that. And so they're just kind of carrying those changes over to the ranged weapons. So they updated grip breaking to make it more apparent to players. So having grip broken now triggers a visual reaction, added a new grip break sound effect that better highlights when a player's grit is broken. So again, fleshing out the grit system, which is, I think, a unique thing that it's kind of cool to see that they have these in New World. Last thing here is the updated combat networking and a continuing effort to improve how combat functions. So this is good. They adjusted hit detection logic to add a brief delay before attack hits are confirmed to better detect hits versus blocks and dodges. Always a good thing, dude. And really, like, it's cool because combat, or the feel of combat, really, I think was pretty good in the preview event. And it's just awesome to see that they're not settling for pretty good. They're going to try to shoot for excellent, and that can be a really big thing for New World.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think all of those changes are good. I mean, updating the combat networking seems to be a good change. Just a good quality of life change to improve the functionality of combat. Very good. The grid updates, nice, man. Very good quality of life changes. And then obviously the two big ones are reducing weapon slots, and then players moving during ranged animations is really, really good, because ranged during the preview was so static, it was almost boring. Whenever you used a staff, for example, it was almost boring. You just kind of sat there and you couldn't move. There was no mobility, and that was just not fun. So I'm really glad to see that change too.
And I mean, a huge disadvantage in any type of PvP.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you're a standing duck. So here's some quick updates. Setting duck. What's wrong with me tonight, dude? I mean, I guess I do these things on every episode, so I guess this is business as usual. All right, so, dude, here's some, I don't want to go through all this UX and UI changes, but some of these big things we will talk about real quick. So it's interesting now, Bordy, because now all settlements, they have made a pass and completely changed all the settlements to be unique in feel and flavor. And that was, I think, a big thing that a lot of people brought up during the preview event, is some of them were like copy-pasted. The layouts and everything like that. And now they are completely redone and different. And that's obviously good.
Yeah, so good, man. It's going to be nice to walk from settlement to settlement and feel like you're actually in a different area versus walking from one settlement to the other and thinking you're still in the same place.
Yes, sir. Okay, as along with those visual changes, now crafting stations will now have visual upgrades to each new tier, making it easier to play for players to visually distinguish the level of each settlement's various stations. This is also awesome. Our camps did change visually as we leveled up those tier camps, and now all of these different crafting or gathering, or even the auction house appearances are going to change as the settlement levels up, right?
Yep, love it, dude.
Yeah, extremely good. Bordy, let's see. What do we want to hit here? Quest improvements. They have basically made a lot of changes to quests, how they update. They've restructured the quest flow, making it make more sense. Just know that the quests, they are improving quests. There's not a lot of details there, but just know that they're working on that. Group play. We've updated how much XP functions to make it easier to play in a group. And this is a big one. This was a very common complaint that I got, or I heard from people while streaming New World during the preview event. So as long as a group as a whole does 15% of damage to a creature, everyone in that group gets XP and a chance at loot. Group members will have to satisfy requirements to get credit, performing an action such as damage, heal, or block in the last 2 minutes, and being within a certain distance of the killed creature. So ranged characters, fear not. We picked the distance well outside the range of an actual character. And the last one, adjust to the amount of XP that is granted when an enemy is killed by a group. Previously, everyone got full XP. Now the amount will be adjusted based on the number of groups and number of players within that group. So this change has made the idea that monsters are easier to defeat while playing in a group. Bordy, that's a pretty big change, kind of a nerf to group play in a way, which I worry about sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll probably still look at this stuff, man. This was a big issue during the preview event, and it definitely needed to be looked at, and some of these things need to be adjusted and tuned. I would think that they'll make a pass at that again until they get it right, would be my guess.
Yeah, and so one of the things that does do, and something that we've kind of mentioned as far as like instance content versus open world content, is this does make it open world content more viable and more interesting again, because then you cheesing things to level up or get loot just got a big nerf. So now you really do want to be aware of how many people you're taking in and your group size and everything like that when you're going to do activities.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, it does make sense that you don't get full XP whenever you kill something in a group, right? Like that's kind of a little bit broken in all honesty. Yeah, I think the XP should be toned down per enemy you kill if there's multiple people in a group.
Right. Yeah, no,
It doesn't make it to me. It doesn't make a lot of sense if I'm going out solo and I kill a mob that gives me 100 XP, and then I go out with a group of 50 and I tag the mob once, and then I still get 100 XP, and you're just plowing through stuff. It seems like you could just be power level like crazy doing that. So that seems a little broken.
Yeah.
So I understand the change for sure.
No, for sure. Yeah, it just gets interesting, I think, and we don't know yet, because we'll see how much of a hit your XP takes while in a group. But, you know, my only concern would be if it's the optimal way to level is by yourself.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want that in an MMO either, right?
Right. Then it's like, then you kind of get away from the MMO thing. So we'll see. We will see. So factions and territories adjusted certain values in preparation for an upcoming larger feature. Bordy, wink, wink, hint, hint. That will reward both company members and everyone in the faction that owns a territory with some cool new benefits. So reduced tax savings for companies members in a territory that they own by 30%, reduced housing prices by 20%, and reduced gathering bonuses for company members in a territory by 10%. This is what we want to see, Bordy, and that is incentivization, being part of the controlling company or faction of a territory. And hopefully, you know, again, they're alluding to even more changes in the system, which we both agree needed a lot of attention.
Yeah, very much so. And I hope they continue to iterate on that until they make it very important to be in a faction or company or whatever and make that choice actually matter, because right now it doesn't. But it looks like they're on their way to making things happen there, man, which is exciting.
Yes, sir, dude. A upcoming larger feature, dude. So that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see, dude. So they've released a lot of large changes. So it'll be cool to see what they do in this.
They have, but still no really new content, man. Even in this January update. It's coming. I know it's coming because we've heard them say they're working on things. You know, they have stated that multiple times that mid to in-game content needed a look, but it just hasn't happened yet. And so I'm just waiting, dude. I'm waiting. Hopefully we'll get something in February, dude.
Here's the deal, dude. And this is something we haven't I don't think we've talked in a video yet, but the real ones, dude, the OGs, the one that listen to the end of the podcast, every podcast are going to get a little bit of tidbit. And maybe they already know, dude, they have stated that they May 30th or whatever the date is on the Steam purchase page is not locked in. We, as of this at this time, should not expect them to launch on May 30th at this point.
Don't think it's going to happen, man. But you know what? I'm not even mad about it, dude. I just want them to get it right because the game is incredible, and I am an impatient person, but I am going to try to be patient enough to wait because this game could be, dude, it could be really, really good, man. I think they're well on their way.
Well, and that's the thing, dude. You know, they're getting so close to a full launch MMO experience that I don't want to see them slow down, dude. Push forward, get this thing locked in, and we'll all, you know, rejoice at the probably the first big MMO in a long, long time.
No doubt.
Black Desert is my guess, dude, and that game's old. Or older, quite a bit older. So, all right, dude. Well, that was fun, man. A lot of good changes coming our way. In the alpha preview, the alpha client, I assume these are already live on the client, because this post happened last week or late last week. So, dude, exciting stuff. I'm glad that they're again continue to be transparent. We thank you guys, the New World team over there, for giving us these updates and getting us hyped up for the game. I think these are very effective in community building. So. Thank you. All right, Bordy. Yep. So speaking of communities, dude, let's talk about a new one from New World fans over there at our company page. This week's hey man, listen, dude, I'm a professional podcaster, bro. As I stumble through, the company of the week is Red Lotus.
Oh, dude, you just took my thunder right there,
dude,
man.
We
didn't do it.
Jinxed it, dude. We both said it at the same time.
We didn't jinx it. You said it. It only works if it's okay. Red Lotus, man. PvP and Red Lotus Trading Company, PvE. So this is kind of two companies in one. They're going to have, I guess, two different divisions of their company. So they're going to have a PvP division, I guess, and then a trading company, which is called PvE. So it's called the Red Lotus and Red Lotus Trading Company. Pretty dope, dude. I like that. Region is North America. Faction is Marauders, English speaking. Focus is PvP, I would assume, for the PvP company, PvE for the PvE company. Size 51 plus, they are currently recruiting. So it says they are part of the Avatar gaming community. I'm not familiar with that one, but maybe some of the listeners are. Red Lotus is part of that community. They have their Discord listed here, which we'll make sure we list that down below. And it says, join the growing and active gaming community in its newest expansion into New World. We plan to be a day one company with a strong presence in the New World community. They're currently, I don't know if we can say that. I guess they didn't say any specific person is playing it, but it says they have had access to the alpha, some of them, and they continue to play through beta and then beyond through release. They have a heavy focus on PvE, and then also their other guild has a heavy focus on the life skills and the trading and the PvE aspects of the game. They say they have leadership positions open right now, so if you're interested in that, you can contact them as well. And I'll make sure to post all the links and all of their information down below. It'll all be in one nice link here that links you over to New World Fans, and then there you can see the posting and their Discord and all that good stuff, man.
One of the things that I hope secretly, and I'm not doing this to spite Red Lotus or anything like that, but dude, what if the changes that they're making to the progression of the ownership of these territories kind of discourages people from having multiple companies on the same server? You know what I mean?
It'll be interesting to see what happens, Jack, because that can become a problem, man. We've already seen that in the preview event. There was one company that had literally like 5 companies, and they were rolling around taking over everything.
Yes.
Yeah. They were just mass recruiting in general chat the entire time, just mass recruiting people. And I can see how that can cause problems for the overall. It could definitely
kill a server, right?
Yeah, it can.
Yeah, so we'll see.
But in this situation, though, having a PvP and then a PvE company for doing both, I don't see a problem with that.
That actually sounds really dope. But I'm saying, in general, it'll be interesting to see if the changes that they're making affects that type of strategy by dividing your people up.
Because for even our company, dude, I think we'll probably be well over the 50 member limit. So it's it'll be interesting to see what happens with all that for sure.
Yes, it will. All right, guys. Well, it's been a fun one. Thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Bordy, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet?
Yeah, man. Twitter. Yeah. Dude, you're struggling, man.
What are you talking about, dude?
Nothing. It's not. I mean, I don't. It's fine. Twitter at the BDLG, and then YouTube is youtube.com/Studio Loot. That's where you can find us. Just go sub there, man. That's all we want, dude. Just sub to the YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. I won't add any more, dude. Sub to our YouTube, please. Please and thank you. Guys, we appreciate you guys hanging with us for New World, New World to go, New World fans. Guys, next episode, it had been a year, an entire year of you guys listening to us two knuckleheads talk about a game that's not even out yet. We appreciate you guys so much. We can't even begin to tell you. Thank you guys for staying loyal and listening. We really appreciate it. If you're new, we hope you stick around. We have a great community here. Join the Discord. And again, we're just extremely excited about New World. We're going to enjoy the heck out of this game when it finally launches. And we hope you guys come and join us do that. So thank you guys so much again for listening, and we'll see you on another episode of New World to Go.